Can you talk about your casting process? How are you approaching actors? Are you reaching out to people's managers or agents?
I love to cast. I love to write the script knowing who the actors are. With the 21 actors we had for season 2, I think we had 12 of them cast while I was writing. The way I approach actors who are out of my league, like Marcia Wallace, Emmy-winner on the Bob Newhart show, on The Simpsons. I acted with her in kind of a pilot presentation thing a long time ago. And we had mutual friends who were how I ended up there. And when I was writing the mother-in-law part, it's another screenwriting trick that if you cast, even if you're never going to get these people, if you cast your roles, even though you're writing a spec feature, but you cast them with the actors who you imagine playing these roles, it, at least for me, and I think for a lot of other writers, to hear that voice makes the dialogue better, makes the writing better, and because you already, it's not just words, because the classic screenwriting exercise is to remove all the character names, and you should be able to tell whose character that is just by the dialogue. And I think part of making that process is casting. But with Marcia Wallace, in the back of my mind when I was writing season 1 was, maybe I could get Marcia Wallace. And then after it was done, I'm like, I guess I should go ask Marcia Wallace. And working on another web series, a Super Deluxe series called Power Loafing that was written by Mike Upchurch, who's an Emmy Award winner, wrote on the Chris Rock show. He had Neil Patrick Harris come in as a guest spot, and the way they pitched it to Neil was, we need you for 4 hours. And we had him in and out in exactly 4 hours. No, plenty of breathing room, meal time, no rush, but 4 hours. And so when I got in touch with Marcia, I said, look, I've written this thing, I've kind of written it with you in mind, would you take a look at this? So she looked at the script and she said, I usually don't do this kind of stuff, but I love this part, this is really funny. And I said, I only need you for 4 hours, because she thinks I'm lying, because every filmmaker is going to go over. Everybody goes over, everybody goes long. Nobody makes their day when they talk about 4 hours. So when she came in, we got her in and out in 4 hours. Chris Mulkey on Boardwalk Empire, then on Twin Peaks. Chris, I only need you for 4 hours. Got him in and out in 4 hours. Kirsten Vansgness, same thing. So once you've done it a few times, then when you approach people for season 2, and I said to Marcia, I'm going to need you for 8 hours. She believes me. She already knows how we do things. We didn't have a casting director ever. We did talk to a couple of casting directors for one part because we chased a big fish for a long time that we didn't get. A great thing to do is go see, it sounds ridiculous, but go see theater in LA. There's a million theater companies, there's a million black boxes, because you can find actors and watching them work. Like, I cast some people, I told them, you have a part. I just want you to come in and read for 2 parts. I'm not saying you are not, I'm saying you are in this project. I just don't know which one you're going to be. I did that with some roles, but almost everybody, I'd never had auditions for any of the parts. Almost everyone was cast out of people I'd seen on stage at the Ruskin Group Theater. John Colella, who's the lead and co-producer on the show, he had been directed by Ray Allen in Italian American Reconciliation and in Cyrano. So he approached her, and she had already seen the show at the premiere, which we had at the Ruskin. So she saw season 1 and she knew kind of what we were up to. So it was a lot easier to get a Tony-winning award actor who's been on The Sopranos and a million other things. So I think that's one thing, if you want to get a name actor and can find some other way other than through an agent or a manager, that helps. But also, if just casting in general, see some plays, try to see plays with maybe larger casts. Definitely the cafe plays, if you're in Los Angeles at the Rust Group Theater, you can see, 10 actors that are doing completely different things in one night. I think that's a big thing. And then pre-production, like I said, I try to write to a location you know. So like John Colella and Reamy Hall are married in real life, and their real kitchen in the show is their real kitchen in real life. That was easy. Boom, done. Their dog, Shiloh, is the dog in the show. So that was easy, because bring the dog and we're going to shoot with the dog. A friend of mine lives in a castle in the hills, and I had already written the scene with Chris Mulkey, and we worked on a project together, and she was like, would you like to shoot in my house? And I was like, she's like, I live in a castle. And I'm like, what do you mean you live in a castle? And go, and it looks like a castle, and there's like a 25-foot stone tunnel like completely around, and so Chris Mulkey, he was selling blood out of a castle. Somebody else said, hey, if you need any cars, I have a bunch of cars. And I'm like, what kind of cars do you have? I'm like, I have a Bentley, a Maserati, a couple of Jaguars, a Ferrari. And I'm like, I'll take the Bentley, and just drop that into the scene. A really good thing to watch is, if you haven't seen Christopher Nolan's slightly short feature called Following, the audio commentary on that is like a film school, because that was, he said, the main character's apartment was that actor's apartment. He would shoot up from a rooftop of the actors on the street with them laved, because you don't need a permit if you're up on the roof shooting down to them on the street. So once you start thinking like that, I think it helps with pre-production. I think it helps with writing. When I'm writing, I'm like, how am I going to shoot this? Like, I just wrote a scene. There were only 2 locations I didn't have, which we got while we were in production. Always a little dangerous, but there's one thing that I've written now that I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to shoot that. So I'm not even done with the script, and pre-production is essentially already started, because I already know there's one location I don't have. All the other locations I have so far, and other ones I can see where they're going to be, but try to think of all your friends, where they live, their yards, their garages, their gyms, their friend, there's a restaurant, what are those restaurants' hours, all that kind of stuff. If you can, as early in the writing process as you can start pre-production for that kind of stuff, it will make your life so much easier. Because if I wrote, it's in a castle, now I have to go find a castle. If I just write, I don't really know where this is, and somebody says, hey, do you want to write in a castle? Exterior, castle, boom, we're in a castle now. So I think that's a big part of it. And the other thing for pre-production, the way I approach shooting is, I hate the mockumentary thing, which is what we are to some extent. It was a way to introduce the story and break it, but it's also an approach to shooting. I shoot 3 cameras running at all times, as much as I can, because it's coverage, it's fast, I can get my reverses, I can pick up stuff that if I was just doing single, flip it single, it makes continuity so much easier, and it makes shooting a lot easier, because if I can light 360, and I've got 2 or 3 cameras running, then I don't need to do a setup for this reverse and setup for this. It speeds up the whole process. But to try to shoot something that is visually appealing, like watch stuff that you like, even if you don't like the movie or the TV show, and you like what it looks like, look at it, really look at it. What is this frame? Where are they cutting? Just to kind of get that stuff in your head. For me, because I don't do the proper director of photography, we just kind of drop cameras and I go, how about this and this? You got this, this and this, good, go. Because we don't have time. And real basic lighting, and try not to write like, we shot an action thing, and Jan Bryant and Dan Speaker were fight choreographers, came in and helped us kill a couple of guys without killing a couple of guys. But I wrote it so I knew I could shoot it without any help. Like, I try not to write something that is so far out of my ability that I have no idea how to shoot it unless I absolutely have to. Because Another part of pre-production, if you can just keep stuff, I know where this location is, I know we can get this actor I've already have in my head, all those things as you're cooking it, it all sort of becomes one process, and pre-production can be less of a, the script is done, now let me go find every one of these locations, now let me cast every one of these parts. If I already have people in my head and locations in my head that I think are attainable or know are attainable, they will make all pre-production and everything so much easier, I think.